Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Elaine, for the introduction and also for the invitation to come speak tonight. It really is an honour to speak at an amazing event like this. My name is Andrew McDaid. I'm 26 years old and currently a research fellow at the University of Auckland in the Mechanical Engineering Department. I basically am a Mechatronics engineer. It's not a made-up word. It kind of is a combination of mechanical engineering, computer systems, and electronics. And basically, I'm working on the field of developing medical and rehabilitation robotics devices. But I'll get on to more of that later. Referring to the topic of the event, success, leadership, and the influence of Christian values on my career. It's very humbling to be standing here and be considered to have any of these, especially because I've only really got my first job after doing my PhD, so my career is only less than a year. But my measure of success, I think, has really been the level of happiness and satisfaction I get from the work I do. And I really think this has got a lot to do with the way that my Christian beliefs have led me into this career direction. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight, is basically how my Catholic upbringing, education, and family have all had a major influence on my career, and then what success will come from that. Engineer that can't get the controls through. Okay, so just start by giving a bit of background on myself. So I was born and grew up in West Auckland. Our family used to live right across the road from Holy Cross Parish, and I'm sure a lot of you know what that is. So I have two brothers and two sisters, and we all had a really good family upbringing with my parents, and also living next door with my grandparents, and having a really close extended family. When we were growing up, we all I did anyway, thought I was pretty hard done by. I had hand-me-downs all the time. Also had to help Dad with the DIY every weekend instead of playing outside with my mates. We were all forced to walk or ride our bikes to school instead of catching a bus or getting a lift in. But I think looking back on it now and how well we've all done, it's really kind of served us well. We're all taught how to behave, for the most part, to be good, help others, work hard, and not take anything for granted. So we all went to Holy Cross Primary School. Then my brothers and I went on to Liston College, and then my sisters to Carmel College. I had a really great experience at Liston with good friends and teachers. They managed to provide a really good balance between academic, sport, and religious education. At Liston I was given heaps of opportunities. I was captain of the school first 11 tennis team, also head boy and ducks of the school. While there as well, I also managed to get a scholarship to attend Auckland University, which helped a lot. So after my first year at university, Mum and Dad moved overseas to Germany with my sisters. So they ended up eventually spending 2 years there, then 2 years in Cambridge in England, and then a year in Melbourne. So what this did was left me and my two brothers with the family house to ourselves, definitely in the most dangerous time of our lives, but yeah, some of that stuff my dad still don't know about. I think really the fact that the house is still in one piece and that we all managed to get our degrees and go on to good jobs is kind of a testimony to our upbringing, both by our parents and also with the Catholic faith. So getting back to this Mechatronics thing, at university I decided to take up Mechatronics, probably from all the DIY practice I'd had. Basically it combines mechanical, electronics, as well as computer systems engineering. So it has many applications: robotics, manufacturing, automotive and aerospace engineering as well. So that's just a slide there to show some of the common devices. As I said, the main reason why I did it was because I enjoyed how things worked and that. I was also really interested in robotics and automation, which was quite a new field when I was growing up. So I guess then after learning about the nuts and bolts and the maths and stuff behind engineering, I was really looking for a field to apply it where I could maybe potentially help other people. So there's many areas to get into, but I think I was drawn towards a different application. I was awarded a scholarship after my undergraduate to do a PhD, so then I decided to stay on and do Mechatronics, developing medical and rehabilitation robotics devices. Okay, now this is not a repeat slide, but when I took up my PhD, I learned about another new field which is called Mechatronics, which now is definitely a made-up word. It's basically mechanics, materials, as well as the electronics and computer systems. So what you do here is, instead of using traditional motors and sensors for producing the mechanical motion, you actually use the materials themselves. So we kind of call this smart material devices. So this is what I decided to do, use smart materials to create some medical devices. So this is just a video of some of the devices. So you can see the material itself is actually flexible and it's producing the motion rather than like using a motor or something like that. So this is, you can see you can create some force and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll just go and explain some of the devices that I worked on during my PhD. So basically, just a quick background material. So it's basically a thin plastic, and what you do is you just coat really thin metal on either side of it, so it still remains flexible, but then you can put some electricity on it, and when you put a voltage, it then bends just as you saw, or the other way, if you bend it, you can sense the motion. So yeah, basically, we came up with this idea for a hand prosthetic. Currently, you can get these kind of devices, the ones shown on the top, which once you need like a motor for each single joint in your hand, it becomes quite bulky. You actually need someone to, have a good job at chopping off their hand to have enough room to fit all this stuff. So basically what you can do is with the IPMCs, you've seen how thin and lightweight they are. Basically, if you can implant them into a hand, you can actually have something that's more realistic and more kind of lightweight and kind of easy to use. Taking that a step further, if someone has some of these other diseases here, osteoporosis or Parkinson's disease, they've still got their hand. So some of the current solutions look like these top ones, which, to be honest, are pretty impractical once you have something bulky like that on your hand. Using the IPMCs, I developed this glove, which can basically be just worn just like a normal glove, slip over your hand, and each single IPMC can control the joint in your finger. And then with some kind of intelligent control, what you can do is damp out some vibrations that some of Parkinson's might have, so they can do better things, like do up their buttons or have a cup of coffee or something like that. So I think looking at this, it's kind of one of the barriers to some of the current medical devices is that they need to be practical and socially acceptable. Like, no one's really going to want to go wear one of those top devices out because it's just going to look out of place. And apart from the fact that it looks like it might take your hand off as well. So yeah, that was one device I looked at. Another device is a micropump for dispensing drugs. Now, basically, the principle that this works on is similar to like pumping out the bike tire, except instead of you pumping up, you've got one of the IPMCs, which can be miniaturized right down, and it just slowly can be controlled just to press little amounts of drugs through a valve and into a patient. The advantages of this over pills is obviously you don't physically have to take a pill every day or anything like that. Also with pills, you get quite a large dose when you first take it and then it wears out until you take the next dose, whereas this can be dispensed quite consistently. Also over an IV drip, these can be made really small at the size of like a coin or something like that, and also because the IPMC is biocompatible, you can actually implant it into the human, so they don't even have to deal with anything. And the final kind of application I looked at during my PhD was this soft cell manipulator, or it can be used for manipulating or probing biological cells or tissue, some things that are quite sensitive to anything that's going to harm it. So this can be used with like medical researchers that are doing research into any kind of disease or cancer or things like that. Basically, you need to go and manipulate the cells, pick them up, move them around, probe them. And with the current devices, again, they use motors, so they can be quite accurate, but again, if you overshoot, you're going to damage the cell straight away. So that kind of runs into quite a lot of ethical issues, as well as a lot of wasted research time. So yeah, with the solution that I came up, the IPMCs can actually just softly touch and just move them around without actually damaging them. So yeah, that's basically the 3 devices I worked on during my PhD. When I was finished, I was then asked to stay on at the university to work on more medical devices. So now I'm, as I said, a research fellow, and I'm working on a project that will hopefully help someone that's had a stroke to relearn how to walk through robotic rehabilitation device. So that's the kind of prototype that I've come up with. Stroke's a major cause of adult disability in New Zealand and around the world. So after a stroke, patients have varying degrees of debilitation, and one of the kind of hardest things for them to regain their independence is the loss of motor skills, so the loss of strength in their hands or their lower limbs. And definitely one of the major barriers is then getting back to be a community walker, being able to walk around the shops and that kind of thing. So hopefully with this device that I'm developing, it's a wearable robot, and it should be able to help stroke victims to overcome their disability and potentially relearn how to walk. So that's kind of work in progress is a good word. That's the prototype device which I've developed. It doesn't really look like much, but I think kind of as engineers we try and get it to work before we make it look good. So as I said before, the main barrier with these devices is that they have to be socially acceptable. So the kind of design I went with was something that was hopefully just looked like a normal leg brace, and then all the kind of electronics and mechanics was in a backpack. If you can see it there. So yeah, so basically the patient just sees a normal leg brace which they're used to. This thing here is powered by air muscles, so what it is basically rubber tubes, and you pump it full of compressed air, and as the pressure builds up, it basically contracts and it can move the legs. And because it's rubber tubes, basically it's soft, so it can be used quite safely around with humans. And the main contribution of this device over some other devices that you may have seen that kind of helps people get up out of a wheelchair is that this is a rehabilitation device. So what we're aiming to do is give it some intelligence, so we'll be able to tell how much a patient is recovering after their stroke, and then adjust the rehabilitation to that. The advantages of this over normal physiotherapies is that the robotic can be a lot more consistent in the rehabilitation, so hopefully get better results. So yeah, basically if you think of a patient who is fully paralysed and can't do anything, the robot will move for it then completely. Or if someone healthy got into the robot, they would be able to walk normally, and the robot just holds its own weight. So basically the rehabilitation should work from the fully robotic stage and take the patient right through to the healthy stage again. So yeah, that's basically what I do. I think it's kind of clear that my Christian values have definitely led me in this career direction to use my skills to hopefully potentially be able to help other people. And also I'm definitely fortunate that my job has given me kind of huge satisfaction. I definitely think this is a good measure of success. Just kind of like a last conclusion slide. When I was growing up, one of my favourite Bible stories was the parable of the talents. So basically the master goes away and he leaves his 3 servants behind, and he gives one servant 5 gold coins, another one 3, and the last one 1 gold coin. The servants with 5 and 3 gold coins go out and invest their money and make some profit for the master, and the one with 1 gold coin just buries it and then gives it back to him at the end. So the master comes back, and of course he's not very happy with the one that just given back his 1 gold coin. But I think the message of this story, I didn't take it literally and try and become a property investor or anything like that, but I think we're all given talents, and the thing is what we do with our talents, no matter what they are. So if we basically use our Catholic beliefs and our upbringing to decide how we use our talents, I think then that's probably the best we can do. So thank you everyone.